Hello and welcome to the Using Information and Communication Technology chapter of the MSM Implementation Toolkit, or MSMIT, a tool that offers practical guidance for implementing comprehensive HIV and STI programs for gay, bisexual and other men who have sex with men. This training is brought to you by MSMGF, the Global Forum on Men who have sex with men and HIV. This chapter is comprised of 3 interrelated modules that present information progressively and should therefore be approached in order. Please note that Information and Communication Technology is commonly referred to by its acronym ICT, and this term is used in the interest of clarity throughout this tool. Let's begin with an overview of the Using Information and Communication Technology chapter, so you will know what to expect as you progress through the 3 modules. In Module 1, we discuss definitions of ICT, its background, and its potential for application in MSM targeted programs. In Module 2, we explore planning and implementing ICT interventions. And in Module 3, we take a close look at the specific ways ICT can be used in HIV and STI programming. At the outset, we would like to note that in the interest of keeping the language of this tool clear and concise, the term gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men is often replaced with the shorthand men who have sex with men and/or MSM. These shortened terms should be understood to represent the rich diversity of gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men, including those who do not self-identify as such. After completing the first module titled ICT, Introduction and Background, you should have a basic understanding of 1. The definition of Information and Communication Technology, ICT. 2. The background of ICT, its current global advancements, and its use in MSM communities. 3. ICT's potential for supporting MSM-led interventions across in HIV and STI programming. And 4. The advantages of engaging with private sector ICT providers when implementing ICT interventions. Let us begin with a definition of ICT. Information and Communication Technology is a term that refers to communication devices, including computers, mobile phones, and other Internet-enabled communication devices. ICT platforms are the software applications and tools designed for use on ICT devices. Some examples of ICT platforms include social media, websites, chat rooms, applications, also known as apps, for feature phones and smartphones, text messaging, and short message service, commonly known as SMS. ICT is an umbrella term which can include other terms like e-health, which refers to electronic health applications, such as electronic medical records, and m-health, which refers to mobile health applications, such as mobile phone apps used for health purposes. Although often used for social purposes, ICT has great potential beyond its social use to support in-person outreach and other offline communication in the context of health interventions with MSM. In fact, in the 2014 Key Populations Consolidated Guidelines, WHO recommends targeted ICT as a strategy to increase uptake of HIV testing and counselling among MSM. Before we look in more detail at ICT's potential as a tool for programming, we will briefly mention ICT's background and its prevalence across the world today. As you have probably noticed in your own day-to-day life, ICT use is increasing in prevalence worldwide. Access to the MSMIT is in itself made possible by ICT. Significant and accelerating ICT advances are being made in low and middle-income countries as well. In 2014, about 3 billion people, that is approximately 40% of the world's population, were Internet users, and there were 6.9 billion mobile cellular subscriptions. 1/3 of the world's population now has access to mobile Internet coverage. These figures illustrate vast technological proliferation and stress the huge potential ICT has for reaching MSM with important and, in some cases, life-saving messaging. Communities of MSM are also participating in this upward trend in ICT use, and many are already familiar with and using ICT in their daily lives. Information and Communication Technology is changing the way many MSM network with each other, find sexual partners, and access information for health and pleasure. ICT platforms naturally lend themselves to use by MSM in part because they allow men who fear stigma or persecution because of their sexual behaviour to remain anonymous and safe. It is also an extremely convenient and efficient way to meet. As ICT replaces cruising spots and other traditional offline methods MSM formerly utilised for connecting with each other, its importance and potential as a site for HIV and STI interventions is increasing. ICT can be a powerful supplement to traditional outreach work methodologies and can increase the number of MSM it is possible to reach. These changes require rethinking some of the traditional offline outreach methodologies that have been used in the recent past. One advantage to this approach is the fact that so many MSM are already ICT savvy, which makes designing and implementing programs easier because many already know how to use them. Let's take a closer look at the kinds of ICT men who have sex with men use. Here is a list of ICT platforms that are commonly used among MSM. All of these are potential sites for ICT interventions. They include social media such as Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, messaging platforms such as WhatsApp and Viber, which are smartphone apps which allow short message or image sharing using data, porn sites, Mobi sites or low-bandwidth websites that can be accessed through feature phones, and geosocial networking apps such as Grindr, Mister and Jacked, which are also known colloquially as hookup apps. Take a moment to check your understanding. True or false? ICT platforms can be especially useful for MSM interventions because they allow for MSM to remain anonymous. The answer is true. ICT can provide anonymity to men who fear stigma or persecution because of their sexual behaviour. So far we have established that ICT's use has proliferated globally, and that this trend includes men who have sex with men. The next question that presents itself is, exactly how can ICT be used in MSM-focused HIV and STI prevention interventions? Many organisations are already successfully using ICT in their programs for advocacy, community mobilisation, advertising, fundraising, social marketing of condoms and lubricants, and to disseminate information on sexual health and living with HIV. Presented here is a list of the potential uses for ICT in MSM programs. Bear in mind as you move through the modules in this tool that ICT is applicable to all areas covered. As you work through the modules, consider your own life while keeping the following question in mind. Is there a way that ICT could help deliver a program more effectively? Can I apply ICT in my own projects? While these new technologies have many advantages, they should not be seen as the only means necessary to provide information to men who have sex with men. ICT can be a powerful supplement to offline outreach strategies, but should not replace them entirely. In the case of information and communication technology, the private sector can play a key role in ICT HIV and STI program development for men who have sex with men. One main advantage is that ICT platforms already exist, which eliminates the need to build platforms from scratch, as well as the need for special training in ICT use. Pre-existing apps and online portals already have the structures and content and the buy-in from users to engage a wide and captive audience who are very familiar with their use. This has the potential to result in large, sustained reach over a short period of time. When engaging with the private sector, it is important to be aware of the differences between the private, consumer-driven model and the beneficiary-centered model common to implementers. Here is a list of pros and cons for program implementers and private sector actors. By acknowledging and anticipating these factors, public and private sector partners can mitigate and address issues before and as they arise. Incentives for private sector collaboration could include shared branding on documentation and exposure to new consumers through programs and interventions. The potential for private sector partnership is something to keep in mind from the very beginning of intervention planning. Here is a list of some private sector actors who have the expertise and infrastructure that can be of potential use for ICT interventions with men who have sex with men. Take a moment to think about specific private actors in your own community. Before moving on, please consider the questions presented in this self-check and assess your understanding of the information presented in this module. This brings us to the end of the first module in the Using Information and Communication Technology chapter of the MSMIT. To review, this module has presented ICT and its potential as a tool for efficiently reaching a wide spectrum of MSM with programs. We looked at the basic definition of ICT devices and platforms, ICT and the MSM community, potential ways to harness ICT in the context of programs for MSM, and the pros and cons of private sector partnership. In the next module, we will explore in more detail how to begin planning and implementing an ICT intervention.